We are ready to go. So thank you everyone. Thank you so much for taking up your time to be with us today. My name is Arthur Lumsey Jr., a Service Director of Career Services, and I have the pleasure of serving with Miss Bailey Bracken. Can you wave, Bailey? It's Bailey Bracken, who serves as the Career Advisor for the School of Business and the School of Education. Today, we're honored to host Ms. Shanice Miller, who serves as the Assistant Director for Graduate Admissions. And today, she's going to be going over and talking about a few tips on how we can prepare for graduate school and professional school. So, without further ado, I would like to turn it over to Ms. Miller.
Thank you, Arthur. Thank you, Bailey. Hi, Kia in the chat. She said, "Hey, Miss Miller. Hey." So, like Arthur said, my name is Shanice Miller. I am the assistant director of the graduate school at UNT Dallas, and so one of my favorite parts about my job is being able to do things like this to help students prepare for graduate school. I was not prepared for graduate school when I went to graduate school, so this is a fun part for me because I want to make sure that you guys are prepared for graduate school. And this does not mean prepared for graduate school at UNT Dallas. This means prepared for graduate school wherever you choose to go. Okay, because whenever I went to graduate school, I was working for an institution at the institution that I actually graduated from, but I did not go to graduate school there. So we'll talk through some things, some of those scenarios and things like that. But we'll go ahead and get started. Can everybody hear me pretty good? I had to close my door because my little brother is here and I don't know what he's doing about the room. So I wanted to make sure that you guys can hear me. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay. Can everybody see the screen? Shake your head yes or put it in the chat. All right, cool. All right, and just to also let you know, Bailey and Arthur will be monitoring the chat. I am a very hands-on, let's have a conversation type person. Okay, so if there's anything that you guys need to know, if you have a question while we're going through the presentation, either just interrupt me or type it in the chat. Either one, I'm totally fine with that because I know sometimes someone can give a presentation and you have a really great question and then you forget because you have to wait until the end. Maybe it's just me because I'm getting older, but I do not mind if you guys want to pause, say, "Hey, Ms. Miller, I have a question real fast," or if you want to type in the chat, Bailey can see it and Arthur can see it. Okay, cool. Thanks, Bailey. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Things to know for graduate school, all right? And by all means, these aren't all the things, but these are probably the most important things to get you started, to get you going when you're thinking about graduate school, all right? Okay. All right, so the first thing to know is that graduate school is a commitment, okay? So whenever you're thinking about graduate school, you got to keep three things in mind: your time, your money, and how much brain power and how much of your life and how much of yourself you are going to dedicate to getting this degree. All right. So keep those three things in mind. Those are going to be key, and we're gonna walk through and we're gonna talk through those. All right. So time, definitely time. Money, cost, how much is it going to cost you, right? Because going to graduate school is definitely an investment, and just depending on where you go to graduate school, for instance, Pell Grant. So if you receive Pell Grant as an undergraduate student, that type of grant doesn't exist on the graduate side. There are scholarships and there are other types of funding sources, but a lot of the institutional funds and a lot of the grants and things like that that you guys are getting used to getting as an undergraduate student, they're not available to you on the graduate side. There are more funding services, resources available, and if you do apply for financial aid, you are offered more because an advanced degree does always cost more than an undergraduate degree. So you are eligible for financial aid if you decide to utilize FAFSA. Okay. And then, of course, brain power, yourself, your life, how much time, how much energy of myself am I going to have to put into getting this master's degree? All right. So there are 15 guidelines that we're going to walk through. I'm going to do my best to not to keep us here for a long time. But we are going to walk through them and we are going to be thorough with them. And again, if you have a question, just let me know. Feel free to turn your mic on and let's have a conversation, because probably if you're thinking it, somebody else is thinking it, right? All right, cool. All right, so the first thing we got to talk about is the application process. Now, the application process differs. For the majority of your Texas graduate schools, we use the common application, which is applytexas.org. You should be familiar with that because that was the application that you guys used to apply to UNT Dallas as an undergraduate student, right? So if you decide that you want to go back to graduate school at a Texas institution, more than likely you're going to use applytexas.org. You're going to go in there. If you already have a profile, you're going to choose your target school. You're going to submit the application, their application fee, and things like that. If you decide to go to an out-of-state institution applications look a little different from the Texas Common Application. So the best thing to do whenever you are thinking about graduate school is to always go to the website of the graduate school that you're interested in. Because on the website, under the admissions tab or how to apply, it's going to tell you everything that you need to know about applying to that graduate school. Now, one of the things that us professionals in the graduate school appreciate if the student has already done some research before. Okay, you can very well call, you can send an email to say, hey, I'm interested, can you send me more information? But I can guarantee you that the information that you're looking for, especially in regards to applying, is on the website, all right? So you guys know how to navigate all types of social media platforms and all other types of things on the internet. So please take the initiative to go and look at the graduate schools that you're interested in. Go and look at their websites to see what it is that you need to do. All right. So these are some of the things that the application process you'll need or they'll include. So of course, the application, you'll need transcripts, reference letters, essays or personal statements, resumes, interviews. Now, all of those documents are contingent upon the program that you're applying for. So not every program or not even every graduate school requires you to submit the same things, right? So for instance, at UNT Dallas, the only thing that you have to submit to the graduate school at UNT Dallas is the application that's online at Apply Texas, your official transcripts, and your application fee. That's it. We don't require you to take the GRE or the GMAT. We don't ask for a resume. We don't ask for essay. Those types of items are program specific. So let's say, for instance, if you're applying for the MBA program, then the MBA program will require you to write an essay, recommendation letters, and things like that. But as far as just the application process to get into the university, to get into graduate school first, you will only need to apply to the institution, pay whatever their application fee is, and then send official transcripts. All right. So 9 times out of 10, those are the 3 main things that a graduate school is going to require you to send first, initially upfront. If there are additional items, they will let you know what it is that you need to send. But once your application is on file, then that means that you're on their radar, and you will start to receive emails from the graduate school, from the program that you're choosing to pursue. You'll start to receive more information. But the first thing and the most important thing to do is apply. Cool? All right, let's keep going. All right. So like I said, some programs may require an interview as part of your admission selection process. You may want to be able to express some of your goals, and a portfolio may be helpful. Now, this is very true. Some programs will require you to interview, which is where career services comes in, because you want to make sure that your interview skills are sharp. Okay. If you hadn't interviewed for a job or for another program, or if you hadn't just interviewed for anything, even a scholarship, it is totally okay to have mock interviews with career services. It's totally okay for you to reach out. Hey, Bailey, I'm applying. I have to do an interview, and it's also important to say, what do I wear? Because your appearance is also a part of the interview process, right? So it's not always all about what you're saying and how you're able to articulate yourself in the interview, but it's also, how's this person dressed? Are they a professional? Are they ready to be a professional? Are they ready to go to the next level? All of those things are a part of the interview process when you're talking about interviewing for graduate school. Now, the good thing is that the program will give you all of the information that you need in order to be successful for the interview. But again, if you hadn't interviewed in a long time, then you may definitely want to reach out to career services to get some tips and some helpful hints on how to interview successfully. Okay. And that is a service that career services offers. That's right, Bailey. Is it right? Awesome. All right. You want to be able to express your goals, why you're seeking admission into this particular program. That's important because we want to know why do you want to come to our school? What about, our program that aligns with your personal life goals or your career goals as to why you're seeking out this graduate program at this school? Be able to say that, be able to articulate that. And that comes with going back to what I said initially about going to the website, doing your research, looking to see what that program offers, looking to see what their mission and vision statement is, looking to see how many credit hours it is, all those things that are going to be important and very vital for you to know as a graduate student. And then a portfolio may be helpful. Is this a service that the Career Services offers, Bailey? Can students create a portfolio?
Most definitely. So we do have like resume reviews, document reviews. We have all that there.
And you know what? This is actually a great tip because we're virtual for who knows how long, and so this will be a great resource for you to have as a student, as a professional, and then also as a future prospective graduate student, so that you can basically house all of your best work, your essays, your personal statements, any type of awards you've received, or any, those things like that, that really, really enhance and really, really magnify who you are as a student and then also as a professional. All right. And then if you need more assistance, if you need more specific information on what does a portfolio look like, how can I get started on one, Bailey and the Office of Career Services will definitely guide you guys in the right direction in that. We don't require a portfolio, but it is something that I encourage just for you to have personally, even as you are looking for careers. It's just a place to really house and to show off who you are. Brag, for instance, a brag on who you are, your skills, characteristic traits, what type of professional you are. If you were on the dean's list and all that good stuff, those are all good things to house there. All right, so let's keep going. A personal statement is something that you will definitely have to write at some point in your graduate career, whether that is initially or once you get into the program, you're going to have to write a personal statement. To my knowledge, Arthur and Bailey, please let me know if I'm right or wrong. The Writing Center does offer services to help students prepare or to help them write their personal statements if they are thinking about going to graduate school. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. And we do as well too.
Okay, awesome. And so does the Office of Career Services. And this is important because we actually really do read these. I know whenever I was an undergraduate student, I was like, oh, they're not going to read this. And they probably didn't. But as a graduate student and working in the graduate school, I promise you we read these. So don't try to, edit the one that you sent for undergrad because we are going to read these. You will basically need to really, really figure out your why whenever you're getting ready to come to graduate school. That's going to be important because these are the things that we want to know. In addition to, you having a great GPA, in addition to you making good grades, we also want to know what type of person you are. We also want to know your dreams, your aspirations, your career goals, what are your long-term goals? What are your short-term goals? All of these things can be included in a personal statement. They vary in length. For instance, at UNT Dallas, ours is one page, not double spaced. And in addressing a prompt, the prompts are different just depending on which program you want to pursue. But these are some tips right here. I'm not going to read those verbatim because you guys are smart. You can read those, but these are some tips. And then Arthur, can we share this presentation with the students so that they can have this? Okay, awesome. Thank you. But you can see here some helpful tips on what you would need to include in your personal statement. All right. Like I said, determine your purpose and content in writing the statement. Why? Why are you going to graduate school? And honestly, that's probably one of the first questions that I ask students whenever they come into my office and they say, well, Ms. Miller, I'm ready to go to graduate school. I'm like, okay, why? Because there has to be a reason why other than, well, I just want to finish, I want to continue because I'm already in school. Graduate school is not like undergrad school, right? It's not like, it's totally different for me. And maybe Bailey and Arthur can, attest to the fact that graduate school is like night and day when it comes to pursuing a master's degree. The expectation for you as a graduate student is to literally become a master in the field. that you are pursuing, right? So the expectation is going to be higher. The level of work that you're going to have to complete, the quality of work that you're going to have to submit. So all those things are what you would need to think about whenever you are writing your personal statement. Why am I going to graduate school? Which you can include in your personal statement as you're writing. And then also the graduate school, we will host a personal statement writing workshop to our juniors and seniors. If not this semester, we were going to do it, of course, face to face. And it was this whole big thing with food trucks and all that. But here we are virtual. So I'll definitely make sure that you guys get that information whenever we revamp the event for that. All right. And these are just more more categories of writing a personal statement. And again, they differ. It just depends on where you want to go to school. Each graduate school has their own requirements. There is no blanket requirement when it comes to personal statement whenever you want to go to graduate school, all right? The best thing to do, like I said, is to always research the graduate school that you want to attend. For instance, when I went to graduate school, I didn't have to submit a personal statement. What I had to do was they gave me a problem in higher ed and I had to solve it in my own way. So that was my entrance essay. It wasn't, why do you want to be in grad school? It was like, hey, here's this problem. There's a problem with this policy. And as a higher ed professional, how would you handle that? And that's what I had to submit, which is why I said you always want to make sure that you've done your research on the program or on the graduate school that you want to attend, because we're all different. We're all different, okay? And again, these are just helpful, very, very helpful tips on what to look for, what to include, and even really to kind of help you get started when you're thinking about writing a personal statement, all right? Let's keep going. Here are just some sample questions. What are the most compelling reasons you can give for the admissions committee to be interested in you? Which is a great question, because again, like I said, we want to know. We've received your transcripts. We know that you are a student. We've received your recommendation letters and they're all superb. Now, this is the opportunity for you to really, really tell us who you are, what you're about, your goals. Again, how does this institution and this program line up with your career goals, with your professional goals and your life goals, okay? So again, these are just probing questions to help you get started on what it is that whenever you're writing a personal statement. What are your career goals, which is important, which is something that I would definitely advise you to sit down with the Career Services Office and establish before you even think about going to graduate school, because again, that's going to have a lot to do with which graduate program you pursue, right? So for instance, my undergraduate degree is in elementary education. I knew when I was student teaching that I didn't want to be a teacher, right? But my mom was like, too bad, I've already paid for it, so you're going to finish it. So once I really figured out what it is that I wanted to do, I went and had a conversation with the Career Services Office and said, I want to work in higher ed. So I needed to find a degree that was going to align with my career goals, which was what I wanted to do, was work in higher ed. And then they were able to help me, navigate finding a graduate program and that was important for me, because when I got to graduate school, they said, well, what do you want to do in higher ed? Higher ed is huge. It's so much to do in higher ed, right? So that's where my career goals came into play. I said, I love, being on the admission side. I love helping students navigate. I love helping them through the admissions process, especially if they're first generation, because I was first generation. So I was able to articulate that to them, which then led me to the graduate program that I ended up pursuing. Arthur, did you raise your hand?
Yes. So there was a question from the comment section asking, is the personal statement the same as the required essay?
Yes. 9 times out of 10, yes. Again, it's going to depend on where you go. Sometimes we'll say personal statement. Sometimes we'll say your goal statement of goals. Sometimes we'll say a personal essay. It really just depends, again, on the graduate school, but 9 times out of 10, it's the same. We want to know about you. We want to know who you are. We want to know your career goals. We want to know how you're going to use this degree that we're going to, after you've earned it, grant to you. how are you going to use that in your life, in your professional life, in your personal life, and all that good stuff. It's pretty much the same. But again, the best thing to do is to always research that institution, that school, to make sure that you have a thorough understanding of what they're asking you to do. Don't just assume, that, oh, it's a personal statement, so I just need to write about my goals. Because I told you what my personal statement was. It wasn't a personal statement. Actually, they call it a statement of work. And I was like, what? What is this? I didn't learn about this in career services. But I had to call and go and ask further questions. I want to make sure that I'm doing this correctly. So can you make sure that what I'm interpreting is right? And it was. And so that's how I was able to go forward and complete that. All right. So let's keep going. All right. Here are just a few things of what not to include. In general, reference to experiences or accomplishments during your high school years or earlier is not a good idea. And this is probably will be the only one that we'll read. You can read the rest, but let me tell you why this is important. Because when you were in high school, you were a totally different person. I hope that after you have graduated undergrad, that you are not the same person that you were when you graduated high school, right? That doesn't mean that all the things that you accomplished in high school aren't important, or that they're not valuable. It's just that you should have gone to another level, right? Education is transformational. So that means that when you're done, after you've completed your degree, you should be a totally different person. You should be transformed in your thoughts. You should be transformed in the way that you study. You should be transformed in all of those things. So the fact that you were varsity captain of the volleyball team is great. Hopefully you're still working out. You're still great. You're still fit, but that's no longer valid, right? Because we're talking about going to graduate school and you want to be an accountant. That really has nothing to do. Right. So again, make sure that you stay relevant. And this is another tip. Make sure that you get involved in other activities on campus. I know it's kind of hard right now because we're not on campus physically. And so our level of involvement is, really kind of none at the moment, but just keep that in mind going forward. And it doesn't even have to be on campus. Get involved in your community, volunteer, shadow someone, or reach out to someone. If you have a mentor, that's great. You want to make sure that you are staying relevant, because if you put something there about high school, we're going to be like, what does it have to do with her wanting to be a middle school principal, right? So just keep that in mind. Don't mention subjects that are potentially controversial. Any views that might be interpreted as strange or highly unconventional should also be omitted. This one I would definitely, for anyone, I would encourage, it doesn't matter where you're going, but if you're thinking about, being a counselor or anything in the mental health, or human services when you're working with people, your personal views and your personal beliefs and things like that, you have to really learn how to separate those whenever you are applying to graduate schools, right? Because we need to know that you're going to be able to be a professional to anyone that walks in your office or in your practice or things like that, right? So this is why, that doesn't mean that what you believe in isn't important, but it's not valid at this point, because we are preparing you and training you to be a professional to anyone. Right. So just keep that in mind as you are thinking about, writing your personal statement. And then don't pull something out of left field, something that does not fit the story you're telling or the ease you are trying to build. All right. So just keep that in mind. Think of your whole self, you as a professional. All right. And again, talk to career services, talk to the writing center, go to the library, talk to your mentors. If you have not, found a faculty member that you really trust and that you can really look up to, I would encourage you to do so, right? Because when we start talking about recommendation letters, that's going to definitely come into play there. Okay, you want to talk to someone who has experience, who can really give you great wisdom and guidance and direction in the area, in the field that you're trying to go to. All right, let's keep going. Experience counts. So like I said, if you're unable to get involved, volunteer, internships, again, having a mentor, shadowing someone, reading books, or even articles. I always read a journal or scholarly article, and I've been in higher ed for like 11 years, but the information is always changing. Trends are always changing, right? So I always want to make sure that I'm relevant. I always want to make sure that I know, even so much to the point to where I was able to write 2 articles in our national graduate magazine. First, I'm an avid reader, but I'm like, I don't want to write an article, but the information was so good and I was reading so many things and I was like, oh, I want to share and I want to tell people about this. And so that actually gave me experience in another area that necessarily didn't include another job. Does that make sense? I still was able to get that experience and I was still able to learn it wasn't in another job position, but I'm still able to use it on my resume and it's still valid and it's still relevant and it still counts. So, and especially in this day and time, we're going to have to be creative on what experience looks like. Right. So you just have to keep that in mind whenever it's, we're talking about experience and you think about your resume and, all the things that you can include on your resume, experience definitely does count. All right. And these are just some other ideas or some other helpful hints in regards to experience or work experience. All right, so admissions test. So the GRE is the most common admissions test when it comes to graduate school, unless you're going to, and then also the GMAT. So it just depends on, again, where you go. The UNT Dallas, our graduate school does not require the GRE. Now, the counseling program does. And the reason is because the state of Texas certifies you guys to become a licensed professional counselor. So that's a requirement for the state, not for the institution. You do still have to take the exam for the counseling program, but whenever you apply to the graduate school, we don't ask for that. We don't ask for those test scores. So the GRE, so if you don't know what it is, just think of like SAT, ACT, whenever you apply it as an undergraduate student, if you have to take those tests, that's basically what is an entrance exam for students who are applying to graduate school. So GRE and the GMAT are the most popular, the most common that you'll see whenever you're going to graduate school. Now, law school is the LSAT. And then, of course, medical school is the MCAT. And then if you're going to pharmacy school, it's the PCAT. The best thing to do is to always make sure that you know what the graduate school that you're applying for, that you know which test they're asking you to take, and then also the score that they are wanting you to achieve as well. That information has to be published on the website. So if that institution requires you to take that test, so the information is out there. And if, again, for whatever reason, you do not see it, always contact a representative in the graduate program that you're seeking. And they will give you that information. You can always go to the website for each of these tests, and they'll give you test requirements, test dates, practice test questions, resources to study. I know for the GRE, there is a study workbook that you can purchase on Amazon. You can also buy it in like Barnes and Noble. So that's available there, and same as well for the GMAT. And then also, I don't know if we're going to do this, Mr. Lumsey. We used to partner with Career Services and we offered GRE prep classes. See? Yeah. So we partner with Career Services and we offer GRE prep classes to our undergraduate students who were needing to take the GRE exam and who needed, who wanted help and, to prep for it. And so the graduate school and Career Services go hand in hand. So we do a lot of things together, which is another reason why we're sharing this platform today, is because it really does go hand in hand. And then take the test early. So when I took the GRE, I took it one time and I was like, oh my gosh, I probably made like a 0 because I was just not prepared. And I didn't even realize, like how much information it was and all that good stuff. So my advice to you would be to make sure that you take it early in the event that you have to take it again. That'll give you time to study. That'll give you time, you have to pay for it again and all that good stuff. But make sure that at least 6 months to a year in advance, especially if you are a senior, that what the graduate school that you're applying for, what they require. Okay. I know right now the GRE, you can actually take the test from home. So you technically do not have to go to any testing location. You can take the test from home because our counseling program requires it. So I've been in contact with, I talk to GRE at least twice a week, to make sure that UNT Dallas is, that we're in the know. We have our own school code, all that good stuff when it comes to taking the GRE. Yes, Arthur has his hand raised.
Yes, we have a question from the audience asking, is the GRE something that I should take junior year or senior year?
I would say at least one time your junior year. Now, and here's the reason why. Because scores for, they can't be older than 5 years old. The test changes every 5 years. So once your test has reached 5 years, it's outdated. So the good thing is if you want to go ahead and take your junior year and you like your score, then you're good for 5 years. So if you apply to graduate school in those 5 years, you're good to go. Now, if you take it your junior year and you're like, you know what, I think I want to take it again. I want to study. I want to, attend one of those GRE prep classes that the Career Services and Graduate School offers at UNT Dallas. You can do it again. But just keep in mind that you have a 5-year window. And then after those 5 years, you're going to have to take it again. So that means that everything you learn, everything you study for, probably isn't valid because it changes every 5 years. So I would say yes to your junior year. All right, let's keep going. All right, when it comes to the application, again, make sure that you follow the instructions. Every graduate school is different. Every graduate school has their own requirements. They have their own documents that you have to submit. So make sure that you're following those. Reference letters, let's talk about that for a little bit. Whenever you have to submit a reference letter, first of all, let's not get a high school coach. Again, we're in college, right? The people that you choose to write on your behalf matters, all right? This is why it's important for you to make meaningful relationships with Career Services. Okay, that office can speak very well of you, and it looks good because it lets us know on the admission side that you have, you've utilized this service, first of all, that you're paying for as a college student. And then second of all, the Office of Career Services is an essential office because if you want to come to graduate school, that means that you've had conversation about what do you want to do, the career that you want to have, the money that you want to make, all those things. Those are important, again, when you're thinking about graduate school, because typically that's why students want to come back to get a degree, is to make sure, I want to make the money that I want to make, and I want the career, and I want the job, and I want the title, and I want all those things. Well, that starts in career. You start having those conversations with Bailey, and then Bailey can say, hey, this person Christy is great. So I'm going to write a recommendation letter on her behalf. That looks really good, right? So that lets us know that you were intentional, and that you did not just go to school to get a diploma, but you actually were intentional about your overall experience as a student, and that you made those relationships with Career Services, with faculty members, with the mentor, if you or whoever, if you had a job at the time. It matters, okay? It definitely matters, and you want to make sure that the people you choose are going to speak well of you. I received so many recommendation letters from students or from individuals, and they say, I wouldn't allow her to be in my graduate school. I would never hire her again. And I'm like, well, why did they ask her to write? Why did they ask this person? And they probably didn't know, that this person felt this way. So again, it's good to make great impressions, y'all. It really is. And it's good to, make those connections and network and meaningful relationships, meaningful connections, because they really will take you far. And we really read those. I'm for real. We really read those. And I receive letters. I've been working at UNT Dallas for 6 years, November the 1st. And every semester I receive, I know, right? I'm getting old. Every semester I receive a recommendation letter that says, do not admit this student, or I would never hire the student again. It matters. And then we have to call and say, well, why? What happened? Again, you're not only representing yourself, but you're representing the institution, and you're going to have diplomas hanging in your wall, like you guys can see mine in the background. And that matters, right? That serves actually as a recruiting tool, for other people. They may say, oh, Shanice, you went to Tarleton. Tell me about your experience, So you have to keep in mind, whenever you're asking someone to write letters on your behalf. And you also have to keep in mind that I'm going to need to be a pleasant person so that when I ask my professors, I'm going to need to be a student that shows up. I'm going to need to be a student that's on time. I'm going to need to be a student that takes initiative, because when I ask my professor, Dr. Lumsey, can you write me a recommendation letter? I want him to be like, I will be honored, because they know the type of student that you are, and they know the quality that you bring. And that's what we're going to look for. And then allow your recommender ample amounts of time to complete your letter, and always follow up to ensure completion. Yes, because as you guys know, we're all busy. Everybody's busy. But, if you need a recommendation letter next week and you're asking someone today, that's really not fair. And you want to make sure that that person has enough time to really think and to, really share all of the great things about you so that they can include in your recommendation letter. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right, let's keep going. Transcripts. Now, transcripts are one of the, if not the most important, in addition to the application, the most important document that you're going to submit to a graduate school. Okay, first of all, it has to be an official transcript. So that means that you would have to request in the registrar's office at UNT Dallas to have them send your official transcript to whatever institution that you are applying for. Now, if you decide that you want to apply to the graduate school at UNT Dallas, I'm able to actually retrieve your transcript. So you don't have to request it. I can actually get it. Once I see on your application that you went to UNT Dallas, I can pull it for you. So you don't have to do that. That is a courtesy that we offer our students who apply to graduate school at UNT Dallas. But if you, let's say if you want to go to graduate school at UNT, you will have to request that UNT Dallas sends an official transcript to UNT on your behalf. That's the only way that it's considered official, unless you have a sealed copy in an envelope, and then you can send it that way. But the best way to do it is just allow the institution to do it, because it does have to be official. You always, in addition to having your transcript sent to the graduate schools or whatever schools you're going to apply for, you want to always request that the university does it. But then you also always want to have additional copies for yourself. This is something that I did not know whenever I graduated as an undergrad student, because I had an opportunity to receive a scholarship, and they were like, "Oh, Shanice, can you send us a transcript?" And I was like, "Oh, okay. Let me request." And they were like, "You don't have one?" And I was like, "I'm supposed to. It's yours. Of course, you're supposed to have one." Yes, Bailey.
So we have a question from the audience.
Yes.
From a recommendation letter sections, are letters necessary if the program only requires reference forms?
Say that one more time.
So from the recommendation letter section, are letters necessary if the program only requires reference forms?
No, if the program requires reference forms, only submit the form. So the form serves as your letter, right? So now what we're doing is we're really trying to streamline, and we're really trying to, ask those essential questions that sometimes recommenders won't include, not on purpose. It's just that, they just want to tell us how great you are and how, all that good stuff. And that's great. But we are now intentional about the recommendation forms, and it just cuts down on the worry and the stress, really trying to write all these great things. So if the program that you've applied for ask you to submit a form, just submit the form. If you submit a recommendation letter with the form, that does not increase your chances at all. So we are intentional about what we ask for. If we wanted a recommendation letter and a recommendation form, we would have asked for that. So if it only asks for the form, just submit the form, and we're able to, get the information from the form that we need, that helps us to, put the checklist for the recommendation. Does that make sense? Awesome. All right. So back again, these are all great questions. So keep them coming. Keep them coming. But your transcripts, make sure that you request your transcripts through the registrar's office. Pretty much at every institution, your official student record is housed in the registrar's office. So that's where you're going to request the transcripts. I know this says your request must be in writing, but we are in 2020 now, so now pretty much everything is electronic, and that's great. I know for me, I think at UNT Dallas, we use Greenlight, and so Greenlight I think it takes like 24 hours. I went to Tarleton, the best school in the world, and ours is immediate. So I can request a transcript, and then they'll send it within like 30 minutes. But again, make sure that you request your official transcripts to be sent to the institution that you're going to. We can't do it for you. So let's say if Bailey went to, where did you go, Bailey? University of Mississippi? Is that where you went?
Yes.
Yay, see, I remember. Bailey would have to contact the University of Mississippi and say, I need to have my official transcript sent to SMU. And then University of Mississippi will gather all her information and then send her transcript on her behalf, right? And then she could call and check her status, or the graduate school should have already sent you information on how to log in to check your status to see what they have received and what they're still missing. And then again, also make sure that you have hard copies for yourself that you do not open. If you want to open one for you, that's fine, but make sure that you order additional copies for you, because sometimes whenever you go for a job interview, they're going to ask for it, and it's just great to have it on hand. Right. I know electronic is great, but if you go to a job interview and they say, oh, you know what, it'd be nice if we could have a copy of your official transcript, you say, I already have it. So that things like that will set you apart whenever you are going to job interviews, and even when you're coming to graduate school as well. So any other questions about official transcripts? It's not a scary process, but it is one that we take serious, because that's how we determine if you're eligible, because all the information that we need, your GPA, your program of study, your last 60 credit hours, all that information is on there. And so that's the reason why it's just better to have the registrar's office to submit it on your behalf. All right. So time to get them all rolling. Your junior year is the perfect time to really, really start to sit down with career services and to really start to make a plan for yourself. Okay, what is it that I want to do? I'm an undergraduate business major. I love finance. I think I really may want to kind of venture into HR because, I like policy and I like telling people what to do, or whatever your reasons are for, wanting to work in HR. Your junior year is the time. It's really the time to sit down and go to HR and go to career services and say, hey, Bailey, I like the business world, but I think I may want to, venture into accounting or finance or strategic management or whatever it is. Can we sit down and have a conversation and map out a plan, a career plan, so that I can really, really try to narrow down what I want to pursue in graduate school? Because when you come in graduate school, my first question is going to be, what program are you interested in? That's not something that I can tell you. That's something that you have to already come in knowing so that you can tell me. So once you are able to tell me that, then we can get the ball rolling in regards to applying and degree plans and costs and scholarships and all that. But the conversations to have in regards to, what I want to do, that's going to start with career services. Okay. Because that's going to line up with what job you want to have. That's very important to what graduate degree you want to pursue. Okay, because those are going to go hand in hand. And you really want to really put a lot of thought into what career and what graduate program you want to pursue, because we're talking about long term, right? We're talking about investing in yourself. We're talking about the money that you want to make. We're talking about being able to support yourself and your family and, all the things that you want to do. So these are important. And the time to start having this conversation is your junior year. Okay. Research areas of interest. Develop and prioritize a list of programs to apply to. That's very important. Take admissions tests. That's where we talked about the GRE and the GMAT and the LSAT. That's what that is. Request letters of recommendation. Remember to make meaningful relationships. Remember to make connections, network, get a mentor, go talk to career services, all those good things. And then begin writing application statements or essays if that's what is required. And you know what? That's a good thing to do beforehand, because then you can take it to the writing center and they can edit it, and so you already have this great piece of work that you really, if you apply to more than one graduate school and they say, hey, Bailey, we want you to submit a personal statement, if all three different graduate schools, you already have one, right? So you can just submit. You don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel, unless you just want to include things that are specific to that institution, but at least you already have a piece of work to start with. Does that make sense? Okay, because it can get overwhelming when you're applying to more than one graduate school, and you're really trying to get all the application thing. If you already have something that you can really already submit and really not, help yourself to not stress out, that's going to be key. That's something I did not do. I was freaked out because I was like, oh my gosh, this one is 1 page and then this one is 2 pages and this one. So, it's like, no. So this is why I love doing this and I'm so passionate about it, because I want to be able to alleviate, some of those stressors and some of those worries for you guys as you're going to graduate school. And your senior year, so by the time your senior year comes, hopefully you already know what you want to study. Hopefully you've narrowed it down to no more than 3 or 4 graduate programs that are solid in the programs that you want. And you've hopefully visited the campuses, if not, actual, maybe a virtual tour, that you've already taken your admissions test, that you've already started to mail in you've already sent your application, your fee, your transcripts, that you've already started to do these things, because graduate school comes fast. And again, when you come into my office, I start with the end in mind. Again, what is it that you want to do? What program is it that you want to study? When do you want to graduate? Those are my questions that I start. So if I'm starting with the end in mind, you're going to have to tell me what the end looks like for you. I want to be an accountant. I want to be a mental health counselor. I want to work in public service, or I want to be a teacher. So you already have to come in with those things in mind, right? So this is why it's important to go ahead your junior year and start that whole process that you need to start, so that you can release, because you're still an undergrad, right? So you still have to, make sure you're studying, make sure you're passing your classes, make sure you're doing all those things. So if you start your junior year, then that way you've already, gotten some of those things out of the way. All right. Let's keep going. Oh, wait, let's go right here. Complete financial aid forms and apply. Yes. So make sure as well, if you're going to utilize financial aid, first of all, make sure that the institution that you're choosing, if they have scholarships, apply for those. Okay, apply for those. And that's another reason why you should start early, because then you can start writing those scholarship essays. You can start getting everything in for that you will need for those applications as well. But that's going to take research on your part. That's going to take you, making sure that you have a career plan with career services, that you've talked to them, that you really know what it is that you want to, you have an idea about what you want to do. I would definitely encourage you to apply for any scholarship that a graduate student can apply for. Do that. That's very beneficial. It's going to help you out. If you don't want to take out any more student loans, especially on the graduate side, there are a lot of assistantships and scholarships and graduate student there's so many different options. In addition to, you can still take out, complete the FAFSA as well. Each graduate program has its own deadline, so don't assume that just because at UNT Dallas it's November the 1st, that's how it is at every graduate school. Some of them are a year in advance. So, for instance, for our counseling program, our deadline date for spring 2021 is September 30th, October 1st. Okay, so just keep that in mind. We may move it just because of COVID and everything like that, but our MBA isn't until like December 20th. You see, so you can't assume. The best thing to do is to always research and make sure that you know what's required of you, when things are due, and so on and so forth. Okay. And special cases. Again, it's great to make meaningful relationships. So it's, again, with the faculty champion, this is basically a faculty person that can speak well on your behalf. That's where those recommendation letters come in. Some institutions, for instance, have a provisional admit, or we call it at UNT Dallas a conditional admit. That's when you technically, your GPA may fall short of, or, you may, for whatever reason, some of the other information you submitted, your essay or your reference letters, the program decided to admit you provisionally. Special admit, it's the same, it's pretty much the same thing. And those are things that we decide in the graduate school. But again, this is why you should make meaningful relationships. This is why, you want to be able to have people that can speak well on your behalf. This is why you want to make sure that you've done everything on time, because those, whenever we're trying to, make a decision, those things could really, be the deciding factor. So just keep that in mind as you're going forward. And then this is my favorite one, stop self-selecting out. Look for the graduate program where you belong and go for it. So again, I was a student at Tarleton State University. I was working at Tarleton State University, and I love my school. I still do, but I did not go to graduate school there. Even though I loved my school and I loved everything about it, I was on the dance team. I had a full scholarship to be on the dance team. Like, I had a lot of great reasons as to why I could have gone to graduate school, but I did not, because I wanted a different perspective. I wanted to go somewhere else and learn something new and learn from different professors. And I was scared because I was like, I know Tarleton will accept me, you know? So that was like my backup to the backup plan, because I knew that they would accept me, but I still had to step out and give myself a chance to say, you know what, there are other schools, Shanice. You do not have to go to Tarleton just because you went there and you're comfortable, you know it, it's affordable. You don't have to do that, which is why I always tell my students at UNT Dallas, you can come and talk to me about graduate school, and you don't have to be afraid to say, Shanice, I don't want to come to graduate school here, because I would, if that's not what you want to do, I would encourage you not to do it, because I went to 3 different schools, now 4, because I'm working on my doctorate from another school. And again, I could have gone back to Tarleton, but I did not. So there were so many benefits for me going to another institution to pursue another degree, because I met so many different people. So many of my really great friends and colleagues I met, they worked at other schools, but we were in the same graduate program, in the higher ed program together. So I want you guys to really, really consider and research and branch out and, you know, look at other graduate programs who have the same graduate programs that we have at UNT Dallas, but look for the one that's going to be the best fit for you. Okay, if UNT Dallas happens to be it, that's great. But just know that my office and myself, I'm here to help you navigate the process for any graduate school that you want to go to. And our office is a great resource because we know pretty much a representative from every school, especially in Texas. We are a part of coalitions and consortiums, and the national organization for graduate school I serve as on a board member. So like, we can really help you. Our goal is to help you. Is to help you, you know, whatever your goal is in regards to graduate school, whatever that looks like for you, that's our goal, is to help you achieve that, whether it's at UNT Dallas or whether it's not. Of course, I want to see all you guys. I would love to have you all as students. We have fun in graduate school. We hang out. We give away great giveaway items. We really, really try to give you guys the best graduate school experience. But I don't want you to just, you know, limit yourself to one institution. I want you to branch out and to research and to really, 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 really find the school that's for you, because graduate school is not like undergrad. Okay. Full time for a graduate student is 9 hours, 9 credit hours. That's it. So when you come to graduate school, you can't take 15 and 18 and all the hours that you guys take as an undergraduate student. You cannot do that. Only 9 hours per semester is full time, because that is the level in the intensity that you will receive in regards to course load in graduate school. Part time is 6 hours in graduate school, so you can't take more than 9 hours as a graduate student. So that right there should tell you the rigor and the level of work and the amount of work and the quality of work that is going to be required of you. And so that's the reason why I want you to really find a program that fits you, so that you're more, you know, more likely to put in the work, more likely to really want to be in that program because you're enjoying it, and that matters. Okay. All right. Let's see, factors to consider when evaluating programs. We're running short on time, so I'm going to go through these really quick. But we pretty much talked about these already. Make sure the program that you want, faculty, program reputation, cost, that's important. Campus facilities, career services, again, even as a graduate student, career services, and then geographic location. So these are other things to consider whenever you're looking for a graduate program, okay? Not just, oh, well, SMU has a program, so I want to go there. Okay, well, let's look at cost. Let's look at program reputation. You know, let's look at parking. Let's look at campus facilities. Let's look at the career services office. What do they offer me as a graduate student? You know, what opportunities am I guaranteed when I leave the institution? So those are things that you want to look at and consider. And then education pay. So this was back in 2002, so we definitely need to update this. So I'm pretty sure it may be more in regards to salary, but this is what you're looking at in regards to what you could get paid with the degrees that you have. All right. And these are just some questions to consider. And then also, these are questions that you can take with you to career services, and you can bring them to my office as well, and we can walk through these. Especially, how will I afford it? You know, let's walk through resources that are available to graduate school. How might a graduate school affect my career plans? That's a question that, you know, you can definitely talk to Bailey. Bailey, if I'm going to graduate school, how is this going to affect me? Is it going to enhance me? Am I going to be more valuable in the workforce? Am I going to be are jobs, you know, more opportunities going to open up for me in regards to if I get a graduate degree? Those are questions that you can ask career services and my office as well if you have specific questions like those. Will a graduate degree enhance or narrow my employment prospects? Absolutely will enhance it for sure. Do I know exactly what field I want to study? Even if you're torn between fields, you know, let's talk about it. And again, that's where, you know, your career goals come in, because if you're torn between two fields, let's really, really sit down and talk about what it is that you want to do, right? And a summary. So basically, if you're thinking about going to graduate school, do your research, utilize your resources, and always, always, always ask questions. There's no crazy question. There's not a question that, oh, maybe I shouldn't ask that. Ask it. If you don't know it, ask it. We'd rather for you to ask it and not ask it and walk around not knowing, right? So ask the questions, do your research, and make sure that you are visiting those. Career services is going to be vital. The graduate school is going to be vital. Let's sit down and talk. Even if you're not sure about what you want to do, let's sit down and talk it out. And talk about it so that we can help you navigate and get to the right school, into the right program, into the right career, so that you can be successful in your life. All right, that's it. I hope that you guys have enjoyed it. I hope that I wasn't too wordy, but I know that it seems like a lot. It's really not. It really all comes down to what is it that you want to do, and let's go forward from there. That's basically what it comes down to. Just know that you guys can email me. Bailey and Arthur can put my email in the chat. You can email me anytime. We can set up a Microsoft Teams meeting if you want to ask specific questions, in-depth questions. If you're confused right now about I'm torn, or I don't know how do I want to start this, let's talk about it. All you have to do is email me. Let's get an appointment, and let's go from there. All right. That's all I have, Mr. Lumsey.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I can't say thank you enough for sharing of your talents and your time this evening, especially during your birthday month, because I know you're celebrating all month.
All month.
All month long.
All month long.
Yes. So I wanted to, I hope I have everybody's email. You should be receiving an email from me directly within the next 30 seconds as it relates to the presentation that was shared today. But not only that, a few handouts in the chat. And we also have a survey that we want you guys to take as well, because we value you guys' feedback, and we're constantly wanting to improve, and also want to know what other things would you like for us to present and or talk about. So also I've added Miss Miller's email in the chat function. So if you have any questions, feel free to email her directly. Also, we have our contact information. If you would like to get in touch with us, email us on Handshake or schedule appointments on Handshake. We actually have an appointment type for graduate school prep. So please